This story is based on true events. In 1939, with the Second World War about to break out, an Austrian mountaineer named Heinrich Harrer decides to chase one of the most dangerous climbs on the planet. The problem is his timing. His wife Ingrid is 8 months pregnant with their first child, and a German expedition is getting ready to head into the Himalayas to conquer Nanga Parbat. Heinrich is one of 4 climbers chosen for the team, which means walking out on his wife right when she needs him most. A friend named Horst comes to see them off at the station, but Heinrich is stubborn and set on joining the expedition. He boards the train and leaves, promising Ingrid they will be back together in just 4 months. The team is led by Peter Aufschneider, a seasoned climber. They travel through India and push on toward Nanga Parbat, the 9th highest mountain in the world. The German government is obsessed with conquering this peak. 4 expeditions have already tried, and everyone failed. 11 climbers have already died on that mountain. By July of 1939, the team climbs to around 22,000 feet. Heinrich's mind keeps drifting back home. By now, he figures his child has already been born and is about a month old. Ahead of them sits the Rakiat Glacier, a brutal wall of ice. The team fights their way across it, but Heinrich injures his leg along the way. Meanwhile, far off in Tibet, a young boy is being raised by his caretakers to one day become a great spiritual leader. That boy is the 14th Dalai Lama. By August of 1939, the climb gets even harder. The team reaches their 5th camp when a massive snowstorm rolls in and forces everyone to stop and wait. The whole time, the threat of an avalanche hangs over them. Sure enough, the next day a huge avalanche comes crashing down. Even after that, Heinrich still wants to push for the summit. But Peter, as the leader, makes the call to shut the whole thing down and orders everyone to turn back. The 2 men get into a real argument over it, and in the end, they split up. Heinrich refuses to quit. He keeps climbing alone, tagging along behind a group of locals from the Himalayan region who carry a photograph of the Dalai Lama as a protective charm. But his climb does not end because of the weather or broken gear. It ends because British troops patrolling the area capture him. By now, the Second World War has officially started, and the British are rounding up citizens of enemy nations, including Germans and Austrians. His greatest journey is only beginning. This is 7 years in Tibet. Heinrich is locked up along with Peter and 2 other teammates. They are loaded onto trucks and shipped off to a prisoner of war camp in Dehradun, India. Along the way, Heinrich tries to escape more than once. But every attempt fails, and he keeps getting thrown back into the truck. At the camp, he does not stop. By 1940, he has already made 5 separate escape attempts, and all of them fail.
How far did you get this?
He becomes known as the prisoner who never gives up. When a group of fellow prisoners invite him to join their escape plan, he turns them down, preferring to get out on his own terms. Then a package arrives from Australia. It is from Ingrid, and inside are documents she needs him to sign. She has decided to marry their old friend Horst. By now, Heinrich's son Rolf is 2 years old and already calls Horst his father, and Ingrid plans to eventually tell the boy that his real father vanished in the Himalayas. In September of 1942, after years of being locked away, the escape plan Peter and the others have been building is finally ready. This time, Heinrich agrees to join. They dress up in British police uniforms and traditional Indian clothing, then darken their faces and bodies with shoe polish to pass as local workers. Peter plays a British officer escorting a group of Indian sanitation workers. The disguise completely fools the guards, and they walk right out of the camp without any trouble. Once outside, Heinrich sticks to his original plan and splits off to travel alone, following his own mapped route out of India. But he crosses paths with Peter again in northern India. Peter is now on his own too, since his 2 companions got sick and had to head back to the camp. From where they stand, the border of Tibet is only about 68 miles away. The 2 men agree to travel together, even though they still argue about almost everything. As they get closer, they run into more locals who keep signaling for them to leave, since the Tibetans believe outsiders bring bad luck and throw the balance of their land out of order. Still, the 2 men press on and finally reach Tibet, the land high in the mountains known as the roof of the world. Their first goal is to find food in the nearest village.
We need to find food.
But foreigners are forbidden from entering Tibet. The locals hold to a prophecy tied to the Dalai Lama, one that says outsiders will one day arrive and bring enormous change, so Heinrich and Peter get driven out. So they keep moving, crossing rough terrain through one changing season after another. When winter hits, things get worse. Peter's boots fall apart and his feet freeze with frostbite, and Heinrich does what he can to care for him. Along the way, a band of robbers captures them, but the two manage to slip away and even steal a few of the robbers' horses. The animals carry them for a while before dying in the freezing cold, which leaves the two men no choice but to eat them to survive. Eventually, they spot a line of people walking and praying as they make their way toward a sacred place. That group is heading for Lhasa, the city of the Dalai Lama. Heinrich and Peter try to blend in, but the guards turn them away again, since Lhasa is closed to foreigners. So Peter gets clever. He holds up a list of medicines and passes it off as an entry permit, and the trick works. At last, they walk into the city that means so much to the Tibetan people. Inside, they end up at the home of Kungo Tsarong, a high-ranking Tibetan official. At first, the two get caught eating food meant for the host dog. But instead of getting angry, Kungo Tsarong shows real generosity. He takes them in and even works to get them official permission to stay from the Lhasa government. There is some pushback, but another official takes pity on them and sends a tailor to make them proper clothes. That official is Ngawang Jigme, a secretary in the Tibetan government. The tailor is a woman named Pema Lhaki, who will one day become Peter's wife. At this point, the war is still raging. Japan is starting to lose ground, and in China, public support is swinging toward the Communist Party led by Mao Zedong instead of the nationalists. Chinese government representatives begin expanding their influence, including reaching toward Tibet, sending funding to monasteries as part of a political strategy. In these days, Tibet is run by a regent who governs temporarily until the young Dalai Lama is old enough to take full control. The regent is a firm and strong-willed figure. He rejects Chinese interference and orders the monks not to accept any aid from outsiders. He even sends his secretary, Ngawang Jigme, to return the funds China handed out. Ngawang Jigme, though, prefers a softer approach and leans toward diplomacy, trying to keep relations from getting worse. In May of 1945, Peter marries Pema Lhaki and settles into a house a good distance from the main part of Lhasa. That makes things tricky for Heinrich, who is still living with Kungo Tsarong while his work takes him all over the city. Ngawang Jigme recruits Heinrich to create a map of the Lhasa region. A few days later, Ngawang Jigme rushes over with big news. The war is over. Not the tension in Tibet, but the war back in Heinrich's homeland. On the 8th of May 1945, Germany officially surrenders, and after nearly 6 years, the Second World War finally ends. Heinrich hurries home, his head full of plans to return to Austria, and starts packing. But then a short letter arrives from his son Rolf. The message tells Heinrich to stop sending letters, because as far as Rolf is concerned, Heinrich is no longer his father. Then a different letter arrives, one Heinrich cannot ignore. It comes from the young Dalai Lama, often called Kundun at the time, and it is an invitation to come meet him. Before the meeting, Heinrich has to follow strict protocol. He must stand with a slight bow, hands folded at his chest. If he sits, he must sit lower than the Dalai Lama. He is not allowed to look him in the face, not allowed to start the conversation, and expected to always address him as Your Holiness. But when Heinrich walks in, the young Dalai Lama is already grinning at him from across the room.
Yellow head.
The reason for the invitation turns out to be wonderfully simple. The Dalai Lama loves watching films and wants to build a small screening room inside his palace. He already has a projector and a collection of films. He just needs a proper room to watch them in. Heinrich happily accepts, honored to help. On top of building the room, he gets to talk with the Dalai Lama directly and tell him all about the outside world. Construction starts the next day, but a problem comes up fast. Digging the foundation means turning up soil full of worms, and many of them cannot be saved. For the Tibetan people, that is no small matter, since they believe every living thing deserves respect and refuse to end any creature's life. Young as he is, Kundun handles it with real wisdom, explaining that the heart of their teachings is avoiding violence and honoring every form of life. With that, the issue is settled and work continues. Around this time, Ngawang Jigme is promoted from government secretary to minister. In 1948, Tibet witnesses a rare event. Halley's Comet, which only appears once every 75 to 76 years, passes across the Tibetan sky. A year later, on the 1st of October, 1949, Mao Zedong officially proclaims the founding of the People's Republic of China. The new government has one goal: to unite every region it considers part of China, and that includes Tibet. They insist Tibet is an inseparable part of the new nation, but the Tibetan government finds that claim completely unacceptable. The regent holds firm and rejects the demand for two reasons. First, Tibet has long stood as its own separate government. Second, the two sides see governance in completely different ways. The Chinese Communist Party runs a state with no religious foundation at all, while Tibetan life is tied deeply to spiritual values woven into both government and daily living. As a formal act of refusal, the regent orders all Chinese government staff to leave Tibet. The answer comes almost immediately in the form of military force. Chinese troops start attacking parts of Tibet. Monasteries are damaged and monks are killed, and it brings deep sorrow across the land. The young Dalai Lama is overcome with grief and unease. Night after night, he is haunted by nightmares about his homeland. In his dreams, he sees Taksar, the village in the Amdo region where he was born, torn apart by war. The only person he can share that sorrow with is Heinrich, the friend who has stayed by his side through the hard times. The situation grows more urgent by the day. The regent finally orders preparations for defense. Around 8,000 Tibetan soldiers, armed with nothing more than simple equipment, have to get ready to face a Chinese military that is far larger and far better armed. 3 generals from China plan to meet the Dalai Lama to discuss the tensions. The people of Lhasa prepare a landing strip and hold a welcome ceremony, raising the flags of Tibet and China side by side as a sign that diplomacy is being attempted. But the generals show little respect for the customs the Tibetans hold dear. The Chinese side offers Tibet autonomy and the freedom to practice its religion on one condition, that Tibet formally join the People's Republic of China. Young as he is, the Dalai Lama handles it with a calm and careful hand, politely refusing to take the proposal any further. One of the generals, Chang Ching-wu, leaves clearly disappointed. A few days later, more bad news arrives through Kungo Sarong. Chinese forces under General Chang Ching-wu have started attacking Tibetan troops along the border. The assault is believed to be the opening move in a much larger operation aimed at Chamdo, one of the main gateways into Tibet. Ngawang Jigme, now governor of Chamdo, orders his forces to defend the region with everything they have. Chamdo sits in a critical spot, and if it falls, the road into Tibet is wide open. But under cover of night, the People's Liberation Army launches a massive assault. The gap in numbers and the far more modern weapons leave the Tibetans unable to hold the line, and the defenses shatter. Ngawang Jigme sends a message to Lhasa asking for permission to surrender to avoid even greater loss of life. Before that decision can be carried out, he abandons the fortress and orders every weapon in the Chamdo stores destroyed so none of it falls into enemy hands. After 11 days of fighting, Tibet falls under Chinese control. Soon after, an agreement is signed, with Ngawang Jigme involved in the diplomatic process. Before long, the gates of Lhasa start falling under Chinese control. The Chinese representative office is reopened, and a portrait of Mao Zedong is mounted on the front of the building as a symbol of the new government. Heinrich goes to see Ngawang Jigme there, carrying the jacket that had once been given to him as a gift. When he tries to hand it back, Ngawang Jigme reminds him that in Tibetan tradition, returning a gift is a rude thing to do. Heinrich does not care. As far as he is concerned, a man who betrayed his own people has no business talking about the honor of tradition. Meanwhile, Lhasa grows more uncertain. Many residents start leaving their homes, Kungo Sarong among them. Through all of it, the Tibetan people voice their hope louder and louder that their true leader, the Dalai Lama, will finally be given full authority to rule. Watching everything unfold, Heinrich starts preparing for a journey. The Dalai Lama is about to be crowned as the leader of Tibet. Heinrich goes to Kundun to share his worry about the young leader's safety if he takes power, and he has even worked out a plan to take the Dalai Lama out of Tibet to somewhere safer after the coronation. If Kundun chooses to stay with his people, then Heinrich's job is done, and his main task becomes returning home to be a father to his son. Still, Kundun asks Heinrich to stay in Lhasa until the ceremony is complete. The coronation is carried out with great solemnity. The Dalai Lama is formally installed not only as the spiritual leader, but as the political leader of Tibet, tasked with guiding the country through a very difficult time. With his work behind him, Heinrich gets ready to head home. Before leaving, he visits Peter to say goodbye. The two share the buttered tea Tibet is known for, and Peter refills a cup that was deliberately left unfinished. It is a Tibetan custom carrying a wish, the hope that a departing guest will one day return. When the moment comes, Heinrich says goodbye to his friend and to Kundun. Before he leaves, the Dalai Lama gives him a kata, a white scarf that stands for sincerity and purity, and offers a prayer for a safe journey. From high atop the Potala Palace, the Dalai Lama watches Heinrich walk away from Lhasa one last time. In 1951, Heinrich returns to Austria. He visits the home of his former wife Ingrid, who is now married to Horst. They all seem to have made peace with the past. Ingrid brings Heinrich to meet their son, but Rolf is not quite ready to accept him yet. So Heinrich leaves behind a music box, a gift he had given long ago, to be passed to his son. A few years later, their relationship slowly begins to heal. Heinrich takes Rolf climbing, the way he always did as a mountaineer, and without either of them quite realizing it, that journey together leads Rolf to finally accept Heinrich as his father. High atop the peaks of the Alps, Heinrich raises the flag of Tibet, the land that taught him so much about life and became a part of his story forever. The film centers on the friendship between Heinrich Harrer and the 14th Dalai Lama, set against the hard times the Tibetan people faced when their land fell under Chinese control in the early 1950s. Monasteries were damaged, many people were caught up in the conflict, and Tibet's cultural heritage faced one challenge after another. Even so, the friendship between the two men lasted for many years. Heinrich Harrer passed away in 2006 at the age of 93. On his passing, the Dalai Lama sent his condolences to the family and said that he, along with the Tibetan people, would always remember the friend who had brought so much meaning into his life. So the moral of the story is sometimes the biggest mountain you fail to climb is the time you never spent with the people who loved you, because some goodbyes last years and some regrets last forever.